That single day turned our business entirely around from being broke and in debt to having months where we've done $50,000, $60,000 in profit in single months that I never would have imagined. And then if you asked me back when I had that experience, if I thought it was possible, I would have never believed it. And so after that day, I asked myself, what if I had these kinds of breakthroughs every single year? For the last 6 years, I've done something at the end of every year that has had a massive impact on my life and on our business. And it's what I call Clarity Days. And they actually started as a result of going broke. And back in 2017, so this is about 6 years-ish ago, I was on vacation with my family. We're down in the Outer Banks, and we're in this beautiful multi-million-dollar Airbnb. From Instagram standards, I looked like I was living the high life, right? And of course, I'm younger in my entrepreneurship 6 years ago, and I'm just flaunting everything. I'm snapping Instagram photos. I'm trying to be inspirational, like this motivational dude that everyone aspires to be like. But as I sat in this multi-million-dollar cabin in the mountains, I worked the entire vacation. And I remember sitting in the dining room of this insane kitchen, and I'm at the end of that table. Everyone's out doing stuff, having fun, and I am working. And I remember being on my computer. I'm on my laptop, and I pull open our bank accounts. And between our checking and our savings, I had $1.06 in the bank. And on top of that, we had taken out over $25,000 in the line of credit for payroll just in case, as our banker told us, and we maxed out that line of credit the month prior. We were sitting in loads of credit card debt, and I was in this moment of, I have to make a decision. Something has to change. And so I took an entire day on that vacation. I took one full day, and I took that day to reflect, to kind of regain vision and just create a plan of action to getting out of this hole, to getting out of this spot that I never, ever wanted to be in. You know, we get in business because we have this dream, we have this initial vision, and then somewhere along the way, we find ourselves in these positions sometimes. And I'd say so many people I've talked to have experienced something similar to that, where you started it to get out of the 9-to-5 grind, right? You don't want to be working 9 to 5. You don't want to have a boss. You want to have time freedom. You want to have financial freedom. You want to build a legacy for your family. And then you get something happens. You know, something happens and you take a wrong turn, you make a wrong decision, you end up in this beautiful vacation home with your family that you could barely pitch in for because they were all fronting everything, and you're sitting there with $1.06 in your bank account, you're loads in debt, and you have all this credit card debt up to your ears, and you don't know what to do. And so that moment was so pivotal, that's what I'm looking for. It's so pivotal for me. I took an entire day. I reflected. I said, I have to regain vision. I have to create a plan of action. What am I going to do moving forward? That single day turned our business entirely around from being broke and in debt to having months where we've done $50,000, $60,000 in profit in single months that I never would have imagined. And then if you asked me back when I had that experience, if I thought it was possible, I would have never believed it. And so after that day, I asked myself, what if I had these kinds of breakthroughs every single year? That started my annual Clarity Day, which as of last year actually turned into an entire Clarity Week. But as of this year, from now doing this for 6 years, our revenue this year is up 48% over last year. And there's this magical thing that happens when you take time to reflect, to regain vision, and to set an action plan in place. And so I want to walk through what these are, how I do them, and I encourage you, we're sitting here at the end of the year. 2024 is right here. It is so close. And so what I want to do is I want to walk through what my process is like. And I hope that you take it. I hope that you schedule your Clarity Day. You follow a little bit of maybe what I do, tweak it for your own, make it your own. I invite you to do that so that you can regain the vision. You can reflect on this year. You can regain the vision that you once had, set a bigger vision, and set your sails into 2024 with a big gust of wind behind it. So what are clarity days? Clarity days are basically dedicated time for just deep reflection, goal setting, and strategic planning. Pretty simple. Easier said than done, right? We probably know that, but we don't often do it. And I knew it. I've read all the books. I watched all the videos. I've attended the conferences. I've attended the events. I've heard this stuff over and over again, but I never actually implemented it. And now it's refined over time as I've done this the last 6 years, and our growth has only continued to go up and up and up. And so this practice basically, it's a step beyond just daily planning or like New Year's resolutions, right? It's about just gaining profound insights by taking the time to actually reflect on your life and on your business and then set a meaningful direction for that. And so I do this at the end of every year. You can do them throughout the year, but I do them at the end of every year. And I usually wait until December to do this each year. The reason I do that, the reason I choose the end of the year is because it's a little bit symbolic. It's like a time of completion. We're wrapping up the year. And it's also a perfect time for reflection on the previous year. Did I make meaningful progress towards the things that I actually wanted to make meaningful progress towards? Or did I not? Where did I fall short? And so when I do this, I do it at the end of the year because when the year's events are still fresh, it also helps me in like crafting really relevant and actionable goals as we go into the new year. When I do this, I'm also doing this in a different location. So I'm stepping away from like the daily tasks and I am going somewhere else. We're gonna change environment here. So I change environment, I'll usually go to like a coffee shop or a super quiet place, just away from your team, away from maybe it's your kids, right? Maybe you work at home, you gotta get out of there. You gotta go somewhere that you can be entirely focused. We love our families, but sometimes you have to go to that place. And there's a great quote, I love this quote, it's by Macklemore. And Macklemore says, sometimes to get perspective, you need to go to a place where you lose reception. And I don't think you need to go somewhere that you'll lose reception. Actually, I think you should have reception for Clarity Days so that way you can actually have internet for a lot of the stuff I'm gonna show you that I think you should do, or at least that I do. I would say, rephrase it a little bit. Sometimes to get perspective, you need to go to a place with no distractions or less distractions. That's what I would encourage you. But I want you to ask yourself, when was the last time that you actually stepped away from the daily grind of everything you're doing inside the business to gain that perspective? That's what I want you to ask yourself, that when's the last time you did it? For most people I talk to, they've never done it, or they can't even remember the last time that they did it and that they took a half day or a few hours, or let alone a full day to do it. I take a full week once per year now at the end of the year to do that. And it's so critical to our growth and what we have experienced from that. Now, I will say real quick, if you're trying to go to a place that has no distractions, little tip for you: if you choose a place like a coffee shop. For me, I love to find a place that is distraction free as possible. But sometimes, if you're in a small town, guess what? Everybody knows everybody. So here's my advice: put on your headphones and don't look up. That's the key that I've learned in the last 6 years. Put on your headphones. So when you have headphones on, get the big bulky headphones so they know you have your headphones versus the little AirPods, or sometimes if you're super white like me, they blend in and people don't see them. So big old headphones, don't look up, don't make eye contact if that's your case. But what I'll do is I'll stick with like a coffee shop. Sometimes I'll bounce around from coffee shop, I'll go to a brewery for lunch, and I'll continue working on stuff there, and then I'll go to a different coffee shop. And something to do that's really cool, if you really want to go kind of above and beyond and have a really neat experience in this, tell the person at the cash register of wherever you're at that you want to buy coffee for everybody that comes up to do something, and you cover their tab, and then you have the cashier or the person at the cash register, have them tell everyone that their tab is covered by someone who thinks they're amazing and wishes them a Merry Christmas. That's something I love to do, and it's so fun. You sit, you watch, and you're just gonna be blown away by the response, because you might spend a few $100 during a whole day or a few hours if you set a certain amount of, hey, for the next 2 hours, I'm just gonna cover everyone's tabs. But you're gonna brighten someone's day at Christmas time. So that's just kind of a little bonus you can kind of put in there as you're doing a Clarity Day. But get away, go somewhere that you're distraction free. If you're in a small town like me, put on headphones, don't look up, don't make eye contact. That is the key, or you will lose your day really fast. Now, when I'm preparing for a Clarity Day, super simple. Get all the things you need. You need a planner, you need your computer, You need a notebook, you need your headphones, and if you're really overboard, you can bring a vision board. I don't do that. I know some people that do that kind of stuff. That's a little overkill for me. I'm usually like, hey, I need a Google Doc, and I need my brain, and I need time. And so go do that. And for me, leading up to that, what I actually do is throughout the year, I have a list in our project management tool called ClickUp, and I have a list called End of Year Think List. These are things that throughout the year, you have these ideas. You're like, oh, what if we did this in our business? What if we built this product line? What if we did this? What if we did this? All those ideas that you have, don't let them just go to the graveyard of ideas that never see the light of day. Put them in the list, but don't get distracted by the shiny objects right now. Save them for the end of year think list. That's what I do. I have like 100 items sitting in mine right now, and I'm about to go do my clarity day for the year. And so build that list so when you actually go to the clarity day, you actually have things you can sift through and you can think of. And sometimes you're like, why in the world did I ever want to do that? That was a dumb idea. Or I thought we should do that and we ended up doing it without me realizing it, and it went horribly. I'm not doing that again. And so I build this throughout the year to prepare myself. Then I get into the flow. So once I'm there, this is the flow that I follow. I start with a review of the past year. We're going to reflect. And I'm going to reflect on really two things. What went well and what didn't go well. Really simple. And I'm going to reflect on those things that I've learned. I'm going to look back and I'm going to really think through this. And for example, like this year, and when I do this, by the way, I do this in 5 categories. So everything is broken down into 5 categories of faith, finance, family, health, and business. Those are my 5 categories. I open a Google Doc and then I reflect on those. I ask questions, I answer questions, and I prioritize. And I'm going to show you what that all kind of looks like here. So when I open this Google Doc, I actually have a template for this. I'm super nerdy about it. So I open this up and I have it all broken down into 5 areas: faith, finance, family, health, and business. All 5 areas, I have those headlined. And then I move into, when I'm doing this process, I'm going to show you a little 4-step process. It's free thought. There are no rules. I will get off on rabbit trails. I will break out of the doc and I will go start researching stuff. I will open up other tools to look at stats. I will look at analytics. I'll go all over the place as I'm diving deep into each of these areas. So with each of those areas, I build a header section, and then I proceed to do a couple things under each. I actually do 4 things under each one of these areas. So I'm gonna go to one, and like I'll go to my faith, or I might go to my finance or my business aspect. The first thing I do is I reflect. I start with what went well and what didn't go well. I reflect on the things that I've learned. So for example, this year, one thing that I'm gonna be putting in when I do my clarity day is one thing that went well on the business front was me planning my week in advance and prepping my calendar and to-dos the night before for that next day. So by time my day begins, I already have the day laid out. I have my calendar ready to go. I don't have to spend 20 minutes prepping a calendar. What am I gonna accomplish today? What are those big 3 priorities from today? What are those additional little to-dos I have to hash out in the day? What are my meetings? It's done. Everything is taken care of. It's in my planner on my iPad, and it's time blocked in my calendar, so my calendar cannot be disrupted. So nobody can accidentally book through a Calendly link and grab one of those spots. My day is pre-planned. So I'll write what went well. I'll also say what didn't go well in each of those areas. So I'm gonna go faith, finance, family, health, business, boom. And I'm gonna say, number 1, I'm gonna reflect, and I'm gonna say what went well and what didn't go well. I'm gonna list all of those things out. The second thing that I do is I ask questions. And this is really critical here. This is what I didn't do this till like 2 years ago. And then this really just kind of opened a new perspective for it, and it helped me guide what I decided to do the next year. I started asking questions like, how can I, or how can we blank? How can we do this, right? So how can I start doing weekly high production YouTube videos versus only long form podcasts like this? How can I double our customer base next year? Who should be our next hire? What role should the next hire be? How do we enhance our customer's experience in the first 30 days? How do we get a review within 14 days from our first purchase? How do I get to that second purchase fast in less than 30 days? Those are the kinds of questions. I just start listing out questions. Last year, I actually was focused a lot on productivity. And I said, how can I increase my personal output in our business. That was one of the things I wanted to do. I wanted to say how, with the same 24 hours every day, how do I become more efficient and how do I produce a greater output that will change the trajectory of our growth by being more efficient with it? And so I asked that question. And you need to ask yourself personal questions like, what brings you joy? What do you want more of in your life? What habits or activities do you need to change? Or maybe you need to adopt? Because I believe if you ask enough of the right questions, you'll eventually get to the right answers. And so that second part of my clarity day in each of those areas, I'll go and I'll reflect. I'll write down what went well and what didn't go well. Then I'll move in and I'll ask all the questions that I have for myself that I need to spend some time looking at and answering, right? And then I move into part 3, which is answering each of those questions. And so under each question, I basically sub-bullet out every potential answer. So for example, last year was, hey, how do I increase my output? And I'm gonna read some of these things. Some of these are kind of funny. So take a full or a half day a week out of the office. Because I learned that I get a lot more like content, a lot more like deep work done when I'm at my home office. So I put in here, take one full or half day out of the office. Guess what? I did that. It made a big difference for me. Number 2, I had, hey, maybe improve my sleep, diet, and phone usage. Number 3, I was like, maybe I work in 30-minute blocks with breaks. I have no idea what I was thinking in there, but it was an idea, right? I said, what if I plan for certain tasks like content meetings, etc., throughout the week, and there are times only dedicated to those so that my calendar isn't just a free-for-all. I figured, what if I start time blocking my calendar? I have designated email checking times, or I look into ChatGPT more to help me with some of my efficiency so I can do greater output. And other things I tried, by the way, was like starting my day, diving into work versus going to the gym. I'm an early bird, so like I'm up at like 4:45, 5 a.m. I usually go to the gym, but by the time I actually start working and come home and get ready, it's like 8:30. So I decided, well, what if I start 3 months ago? I decided, like, what if the answer is me flipping and I work out in the evening and I just start work at 5:30 a.m. And I started doing that 3 months ago. Massive difference. Now, despite I love certain people in the morning at the gym, guess what? My output is easily 2 to 3 times what it was more than 3 months ago. Like, it's unbelievable how big of a difference that has made for me. And so I listed out answers to a lot of those questions. And so I use this time for kind of brainstorming, letting my thoughts just flow freely without judgment, without restriction. Some of the ideas are just crazy out there, and I had more crazy ideas than that. I had a lot of ideas, and I put all of that down, and I consider all the perspectives, and then I challenge myself to think outside of the box. And this takes time. One of the most underrated things you could do as an entrepreneur is think. To sit down and think. Thinking is wildly underrated in my opinion, and there's not enough of it. And if there is more of it, you might make more progress in your life and in your business as a result of that. So once we go through this, I reflect what went well, what didn't go well. I ask a lot of questions in each of those 5 areas of my life, and then I answer the questions of those 5 areas of my life. Then I move in and I say, okay, with all these questions answered, now I can begin prioritizing them as far as what needs done and when that needs done in the next year. Some things, they're gonna be tabled. They're gonna be backburnered. This is not a priority in the next year. I would love to do it, but I don't believe that's gonna happen, and I don't think that I need to focus right there. So as I start to look at this, I'm gonna look ahead at my calendar over the entire year, and then I'm gonna begin, and I'm gonna look at my project management tool, and rather than only living in this doc, we'll then begin putting these in the calendar, putting these in our project management tool so that way we can share them with our team. Because our team takes the last few weeks of the year off, we come back, and then I'm usually sharing those with the team as we come back in, or I'll share them in our team retreat in December as well, depending on when I take my clarity day. And so documentation just serves as this relevant, like helpful resource for remembering what you did, which is why I like to write this down instead of just sitting there in the silence and thinking. We write it down. I'm taking this, I'm planning it on the calendar front for these key moments. We're putting in our project management tool so that way it doesn't get lost. I'm sharing those with the team. And then I'm moving into the next year with just such a momentum. I can't express enough how how impactful this has been on my life and in our business. I only started doing them 6 years ago. I wish I did it all the way at the beginning. I feel like I would have been in a lot better position if I actually took the time to do that, because most people set these, they just throw them. I used to set goals like say, hey, our goal is to do $1 million in revenue next year. Done. And that's it. And it's all based around dollars and revenue. And it's just a number you throw out there, and you don't think, what does it take to actually get there? What are those things that need done? That I need to sit down, I need to think, I need to ask questions. A lot of questions with a lot of answers to determine what the best route is. And so Clarity Days, they're not just about this planning and reflection, but we also have to remember that we have to take those insights, those ideas, and we have to move those into action going into the new year. Because the true value of Clarity Days isn't in the Clarity Day. It's not in only sitting down and doing stuff. It's in actually implementing those things that you learn. And so what I like to do, I'll sit down every week and I will look and stack that up, stack where I'm at right now throughout the year up against what I envisioned it looking like. So I'll take this document with me and I'll have that list, and I'll look at it every week so I understand what is it turning into? What is this year turning into versus what I believed it should have turned into? And then also maintains that freshness in my mind every week as I move closer to solving those questions with those different answers. So to recap, this is a little bit different of an episode. I don't do these as often. I believe this stuff is very valuable as an entrepreneur, flat out. It's one of the most impactful things that you can do. And so I kind of like to share these. It's not as tactical. It's not as sexy as Facebook ads or email marketing or advertising or any of the other fun stuff we get to talk about. But this is very crucial for your business. This is December, my friends. Take the time, one day. If you can't do one day, take a half day, 4 hours for yourself, 4 hours to change your trajectory in 2024. So to recap here, first, choose the right location where it's not gonna be distracting, or if it is, bring headphones and don't make eye contact. Number two, you need to prepare your day. Bring your computer, bring your notes, bring software that you're using, bring your brain. And number three, you need to, this is what I do however you wanna do it. I reflect, I ask questions, I answer them, and then I prioritize in all 5 of those key areas of my life: my faith, my family, my finance, my health, and my business. I encourage you to schedule your own day. And if you do, here's what I want you to do. Shoot me a DM on Instagram @JoshCoffee or on Facebook with a photo of your Clarity Day setup. I'm gonna be posting mine here pretty soon. I'm gonna post mine a little after I actually record this episode. So I'll be sharing mine. I'd love to see yours. Let's celebrate these steps of just taking time to sit down in our business, to plan, to be strategic so that we can have the victory as we go into the new year. This podcast has been produced by Dylan Count. And if you think that you'll also do a Clarity Day this year, I have a big favor to ask you. Could you give this a thumbs up on YouTube if you're watching on YouTube, or just take 30 seconds to leave a review or a rating on the app that you're listening to this podcast on? It would mean the world to us, and it would be a wonderful Christmas gift to the e-commerce alley. We appreciate you, and we'll see you in the next episode.